What is going on, YouTube? We are doing fight predictions for this upcoming UFC event. UFC Fight Night 283, Medic versus versus Daniel Rodriguez. This is going to be it's actually a decent card. There's a couple fights that I'm interested in, and so I'll just get straight into it. Some of the early prelims I don't really I'm not really gonna. I'll definitely watch. I won't really pay too much attention to. Rebecki versus Kyle, which should be an interesting fight. Rebecki's kind of good. I think they're both coming off of. I'm going to be switching from the UFC actual page to Sherdog, but I think they're both coming off of losses. Yeah, Rebecki's on 3-fight losing streak. Kyle's also on a 3-fight, two-fight losing streak. Last losses to Benoit Saint Denis and Drew Dober, and then Rebecki kind of coming off of Chris Leroy Duncan, Klein, who's also on the card. Actually, Klein's also on this card, and Grant Dawson, all kind of good guys. He beat Orbely, which was a good win. That's kind of where I got my hype for him, because all these fights he was super competitive. He was never really getting dominated in any of the fights. His last fight to Grant Dawson, he was doing super well, kind of gassed out, and then lost via submission. So yeah, Rebecki's should be a favorite, I would assume. I'm going to be going to Kalshi here. I'll leave a link in the description to my Kalshi link if you guys haven't signed up yet. But yeah, Rebecki's a huge favorite. So yeah, that one has my eye for sure. I'm going to go with the odds and go with Rebecki, but Kyle, like I said, Kyle's lost to some good people. Benoit Saint Denis, Drew Dober. Is he moving up on this fight then? Because these are lightweights, and this fight's at middleweight, right? Oh no, it is at lightweight. Okay, wait. So Rebecki's moving down in weight. Oh, he fought Chris Duncan. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Okay. Sorry, I was confused. I thought CLD is who he's fighting. Okay, he fought Chris Duncan. That was a good fight. Yeah. So okay, Rebecki's still he's still a dog. I would still go with Rebecki for the odds here. I don't. A lot of the fights on this card are kind of there's not really huge odds to make money. The next fight, I'll kind of skip a couple of these just because I don't know enough about the guys. The next fight, Michael Oliveira versus Orban Elliott. The odds are crazy, right, towards Oliveira. Oliveira had a good performance in the UFC Contender Series. He's making obviously his UFC debut. He is big for the division. He is tall. He is this. I mean, they match up pretty well. But yeah, Oliveira looks so clean on the Contender Series. I think this is going to be a quick one here, and obviously I'm going to go with the odds for Michael Oliveira. But yeah, that one should be an interesting fight just to see how he does in his UFC debut versus a guy that's been in the UFC for a while, a vet. And so I think that'll be interesting to see. I think he's on a 2-fight losing streak, if I'm not mistaken. Elliott is on a 2-fight losing streak. Yeah. And he fought two guys that aren't crazy good and got decision and submitted. Yeah, Oliveira's kind of nice. 28 years old versus Elliott's kind of younger too, 28. So yeah, two 28-year-olds. It'll be interesting to see how Elliott uses his experience in the UFC. But I think Oliveira's a dog, so that one's gonna be an interesting fight. The next fight is another one that I have my eyes on, and that's Klein versus Musayev. Musayev is a dog, but so is Klein. Klein is these guys are both on winning streaks. Klein had a really good performance against Gamrot. Gamrot, obviously that's a harder matchup, right? Gamrot, a huge wrestler, but he was able to go to the decision with Gamrot. I think he was kind of doing well in some of the scrambles, but obviously, yeah, Gamrot just had kept on taking him down, and Klein was kind of struggling. He would get up, but it's harder against someone like Gamrot. But yeah, he was on some huge win streak. Bahamundez, AJ Cunningham, which is someone that trains with Bahamundez trains with the former champion in Chicago. Remember the name? And then AJ Cunningham trains with Dustin. Thiago Moises trains with Dustin at ATT. Roosevelt Roberts was a good fight. Just beat Rebecki. Yeah, like this is a good fight. And then Musayev just beat Bahamundes, right? Lost to Orbine, which is just MMA math, right? But he has some good wins. Beat Sydney Outlay. Beat there was one fight that I was just like kind of I don't remember where it was. It wasn't at Ryzen. It was at Bellator. I think it was this one that I saw. But yeah, he has some good wins. He's a little older. He's 36. Obviously, Klein is 31. I'm gonna go with I wouldn't be opposed to going with Musayev. Obviously, he's a little older. Klein's younger. Klein is the favorite, but Musayev is kind of. I mean, he looked good against Bahamundes. And Bahamundes is someone that everyone talks very highly of. I think he's good. He's just kind of struggling at the moment, right? A lot of the fights he's kind of struggling to kind of. I don't know what it is. He's just not working hard enough in some of these fights that he could easily win, I think. And so yeah, he's getting some losses where he doesn't deserve them, but. I wouldn't mind taking some money on Musayev. I think Klein's a dog, though. So I'm going to go with Klein. So we'll go to the main card. Some of these fights down here should be on the main card because I don't know either of these guys. I think they're both making their UFC debut. Same with here. Like, he's been in the UFC for a while, but this guy's making his UFC debut. It says he's 0-0 in his pro fights. I think he actually has some fights in pro. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of... I've never heard of this organization, right? I'm guessing it's a Serbian organization, but he looks like a dog. El Chapo is his nickname. That's crazy. He looks like a dog. 10 knockouts, right? 4 submissions, 0 decisions. So a lot of finishes versus someone that has lost by knockout, lost by submission. He's Mexican American. Should be an interesting fight. He's been in the UFC. I remember him. Yeah, he lost to Medic, lost to Radic. Yeah, he lost to Brian Battle, lost to Sean Brady in LFA. Yeah, I mean he's fought some good people here. Sean Brady, Brian Battle, Radic, Medic, who's the is Medic? Yeah, Medic is the main fight on this card. So yeah, he's lost to some good people, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens in this fight. I think that'd be a good test for a new up and comer. The odds are kind of crazy. I don't know why they're that far apart, but maybe Crepo is just someone that's super super highly viewed out there in the Europe scene. But yeah, that should be an interesting fight. I think for the odds, I wouldn't mind putting something on Gilbert. That's the one thing that I like about Cauchy is I could put some money on someone and then just kind of cash out at any point if he has any success, right? If he has any success in this fight, like the numbers are gonna be bouncing crazy, and that's what I like about the UFC because I can just cash out and just let it ride for the rest of the fight, right? And like for example, last weekend when Steve Erceg versus I forget his name, he got knocked out, right? But Steve Erceg was having some success, and he went from like 20%, like something similar to this. This is what it was. He went from like 20% up to 70%, and then obviously he got knocked out. So it went like a second jump, and then just spiked all the way down, right? But I got in and out super easily. I love making money like that, but yeah. So. That fight might be something that I could take a look at. This next fight, I don't know too much about them. They're both in the UFC. They've been in the UFC for a while, but I don't know too much. I don't really remember most of their fights. So like lost to Chris Leroy Duncan, lost to Abdul Malik, lost to Zachary Reese. I mean, this guy doesn't really look that crazy. The guy he's fighting, Valentin, beat LeBlanc. Lost to Ryan Lauder. I mean, so they're both kind of similar. They're both similar trajectories. 3-fight losing streak, then got a win, and they're kind of both coming off of a win. I don't know how that fight's this high up here. I feel like Rebecki, she's kind of getting disrespected and should be kind of higher up here than a lot of these guys. But I mean, it is what it is. The UFC. Sorry, headset kind of turned off there. Going on to the next fight, next 3 fights, Rakic versus Turbula. I think this would be a good fight. Rakic is making his UFC heavyweight debut. Turbula has been in the UFC has been a heavyweight for a while. He's a true heavyweight. Rakic coming up from light heavyweight. Will be interesting to see how he does. I think the odds are kind of crazy right now for Rakic, but yeah, we'll see how he does. I mean, I thought he was a big middleweight, but he was getting knocked out at light heavyweight. Sorry, I said middleweight. He was getting knocked out at light heavyweight, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in heavyweight. Even though, I mean, he's a big dude. Like I said, he was a big light heavyweight, but he'd probably be a smaller heavyweight, to be honest with you. Kind of something similar to like Pereira, where he fought Gane, who's a true middleweight versus a light heavyweight. I mean, Pereira was a middleweight at one point, and I think so is Rakic. So like, it's kind of crazy that these guys are just constantly moving up in weight, and then it just doesn't transition, right? Like they don't have the same power in these higher divisions. But it'll be interesting to see with that one. I think for the odds, I might throw on Turbula. Just for the odds. Like I said, he's a true heavyweight versus Rakic, who's someone that was at middleweight. I think he was at middleweight. I can't remember. I think he was at middleweight, moving all the way up to heavyweight. So, yeah, I think that's kind of crazy. And I think he was big for all the divisions, but I just don't think that the power and those advantages that he had at those smaller divisions will transition to heavyweight. But we'll see. Maybe I'll eat my words there. But we'll see what happens there. My pick would be Turbula by knockout, but we'll see what happens. Moving on to the co-main event, Jan Blachowicz coming back, making a light heavyweight bout versus Navajo Sterling. Navajo Sterling accepting this fight on short notice. I think it was like 2 weeks, maybe I would say 3 weeks max notice. Yeah, I think this is an interesting fight. Obviously, Sterling has been on a tear in the light heavyweight division. Jan Blachowicz has been there, done that. You know, he's former champion. I think this is a good fight for Sterling. I don't think this is a good fight for Jan Blachowicz. I think he's gonna struggle a little bit. Obviously, Jan Blachowicz is a lot slower than he was previously, and Sterling, someone that kind of uses his pace and pressure to put it on these guys and get the win. So I'm going with Navajo Sterling, but I think Jan Blachowicz he has the fighter chance, right? Could land something clean, knock out Sterling. But Sterling hasn't really been in that big of danger in the UFC. He struggled with his first fight, just getting hit a lot, probably UFC jitters. But him being in the UFC now for a while, like getting some good wins off of these guys, I think that's just going to be it's going to transition to this fight and probably see the last of Jan Blachowicz after this fight. To be honest with you, if he goes out there and kind of gets worked by Sterling, I think he's going to be done, because this is something that he'll probably see and be like, yeah, this is a super winnable fight, which is probably why he accepted it, right? Super winnable fight. He's going up against a guy that's up and coming, right? And so he's probably like something similar to Dustin versus Benoit Saint-Denis, someone that's up and coming, but Dustin kind of knew that he could get that win, and so that's probably why he accepted it. I'm going with Navajo Sterling. I don't think Jan Blachowicz gets out of this one. But yeah, that's what I would say. Navajo Sterling in the distance. And going on to the main fight, obviously Daniel Rodriguez coming back to the UFC after a long layoff versus the surgeon Usyk Meric. I think surgeon or the doctor, I forget what his nickname is. Maybe it's the doctor. The doctor. Yeah, so I think this is going to be a tough fight for Daniel Rodriguez. Obviously, he was in, I don't know if anyone knows his situation, but he was in prison in Mexico for a while, for a couple years, and coming back to fight. This is his first fight from that. And so I think it'll be interesting to see. He still looked kind of filled up. I watched the podcast with Joe Rogan. Looked a little filled up, obviously being back in the U.S., getting some good meat, getting some good protein, in where he wasn't really getting that in the Mexican prison. I think it'll be interesting to see this. If this was Daniel Rodriguez in previous, right? If it's the same Daniel Rodriguez, he definitely has a chance against the Dr. Medic. But Medic is on a tear right now. The odds are kind of crazy for this fight. I believe. I think Daniel Rodriguez is a huge underdog, which I mean, respectfully so. Yeah, I mean, respectfully so. He's coming back off of a huge layoff. He's a little older, 33 versus I think Daniel Rodriguez 36, 39. But like I said, Daniel Rodriguez had some good fights. He was doing well, right? Obviously got submitted by Neil Magny, lost to Ian Gary, lost to Gastelum, which was a crazy loss. Should have beat Gastelum. That's a fight that you have to win. Lost to Gastelum. Then beat Alex Moreno, beat Ponzinibbio in Des Moines, and then beat Kevin Holland, which was his last fight. Like I said, he was having a tear. He was kind of doing super well, and then kind of just kind of obviously went through that thing in Mexico and hasn't been into a fight since. But I think I'm gonna go with. I would like to put money on Daniel Rodriguez. I met him. He's a good guy. I would like to put money on Daniel Rodriguez, but I think Medic is gonna get the dub here. And so let me know what you guys think about my picks. I'll leave all my picks below. I'll also leave my Kalshi link down below. And then let me know if you guys like the content. Definitely going to be keeping my eye on a couple of these fights. So let me know what you guys like best out of this card and what you think about the card in general. I'd love to know what you guys think. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching the video. Have a good one. Peace.